Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. What I have for you guys today is a baby crested gecko enclosure setup for hopefully less than $10. Now I'm going to just preface that this might be a little bit more than 10 depending on where you live. For me, these were all less than 10, but for you it might be slightly more or slightly less. Just keep that in mind, but in general that this is a very cheap setup. Now I made a video like this probably about 10 months ago now, where I used a 10-gallon setup to make a little baby enclosure, and that was pretty cheap too because 10 gallons and a 10-gallon lid are only about $15 to $20. So that's not very expensive and it looks a lot nicer. But back when I made that video, I only had probably 1 or 2 crested geckos. So now that I have 16, I can't really have 10 gallons all over the place. But we're going to be going through these 3 options here, and we're going to be taking a look at the advantages and disadvantages of each of them, and then I'm going to show you guys how I set up my little baby enclosure. So our first little tub we have here is a 6-quart shoebox. You can pick these up from Walmart for about $1 or so, give or take a little bit. Throw in the plant, you're looking at about maybe $6. So what I like to do with these is I'll use them for a really little baby if I'm worried about it finding food. I used this for a root beer float when I first had them. Now I turned it into kind of a moist box, lay box kind of deal, but it was at one point a gecko tank kind of thing. I did drill the holes in it, as you guys can see, and that's going to be one downside of this, is that you have to drill holes in the lid. So if you don't have a drill or you don't have the means to pop holes in the lid, that might be a problem. Another thing is these lids are pretty flimsy and don't really secure to this too well. They're going to stay on, but they're going to be a little bit flimsy, so the chances of breaking them is also pretty easy. But if you do break it, it's only $1, so you're not out too much. But the nice thing about this is they're small, they're compact. You can stack them if you're using a rack system because they are kind of a rectangular box. And the way the lids work, you can stack them on one another, so that's really nice. And these work pretty good for small little babies. Now what I like to do with this setup, I'm not going to be showing you guys how I set this up, but what I would do, I have these kind of like little paper towel rolls. They're just from toilet paper. So I like to give these to my babies because they're small, secure. They get dirty, throw them away, get another one. So that's really nice about those. So I'd put one of those in there, and then I'd take like one of the little branch leaf things and stick it on there and put that over the toilet paper roll. Now the small ficus that I use would come to about here or so you can have the toilet paper roll over there, the leaves and stuff, so that they can hide, and then they can have a little open space where you can put the food dish, water dish, or whatever else you want to put in there. And this is very nice. This is about $6. If you have little babies, I'd recommend using this. It makes things easy, and you know that they're pooping and eating their food very easily. It's very easy to check. Also, it's about the exact same size as a half sheet of paper towel, so that's very nice too. Easy to clean, easy to see, and just good in general. So what I like to do with this one, as you guys can see, this is much bigger. This is probably about 3 times the size as that other one. And here's basically a side view of it. Now this one's very nice for kind of your bigger babies, like that other little one, like right there. That was good for maybe something under maybe 8 grams or so. Then I like to move them up to something like this. And basically what this is a little bit bigger tub. This was about $6 at Walmart. Let's say the plant, I got these plants actually for $3 a piece. So that'd be about $9 plus, the egg carton, which I guess you could count as something maybe 50 cents, let's say. So you're looking at about $9.50 or something like that. Now the way I like to use these setups is, since they're taller, I like to put the egg crates in there because they are also disposable. You can just throw them away when they get dirty. But I also take the plant and a little half sheet, or a little half of an egg crate. You guys can see it down there. And what I do is I like to lean this up against the half crate so it kind of sticks into the corner, and I can stick the leaves on it so they can crawl under there. They can also hide under the underside since this is hollow, if you guys can see. Some of the advantages to using this setup is, one, since it's bigger, you can keep a gecko probably up to 15 grams in here or so. That's when I like to move them into the other tank, maybe 12 to 15 actually. And I like to keep them in something like this. It's easy to see if they're pooping still because it still has the same footprint as that. The little tank is just slightly bigger. As you can see, it's just a little bit bigger than the paper towel. So what you can do is just one paper towel, and you can do the same kind of setup I have here. I'll show you guys how to set that up in a little bit. But it's just bigger in general, and it's easier to see. Now, it's also a little bit harder to use because, for one, you're going to have to still drill holes in it, so that kind of sucks too. But also, like this white plastic here, this is what I would call a soft plastic. As you can see, none of the holes cracked. They just are kind of a soft plastic. You can kind of tell soft plastic because it's going to be usually colored of some kind. But like these clear plastics, these are what I would call like harder plastics or hard plastics. As you can see, some of the holes that I drilled cracked like that. Or if we look at the side, it's easier to see because it's clearer, like that or something. So this is going to be a little bit harder to drill in, and if you crack it out, like let's say I drilled these two close together like these two and it cracked right here and then it cracked between these four, you're going to have a big hole missing and then you can't really use this unless you repair it, but it's going to look like crap. Now when I drill my holes, I don't mark them out or anything, I just start punching holes in there. I think the random looks better than trying to keep it all nice and symmetrical. But if you're trying to keep it symmetrical and you do them too close together and you pop a big chunk out here, this is basically garbage and now you're out $6. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I haven't had that happen to me yet, but I've came pretty close on one of my other clear plastic containers. So that's just something to keep in mind. A benefit though is that it is pretty clear. It's a little bit foggy because of the water buildup kind of on here. It's cleaning day today and that's why I'm doing this video. But if you do something like this, this is better for bigger geckos. As you can see, I have Lunu in here. He's actually one of the smaller geckos I have, but since I use this for my little moist box and I'm using my other tank over there, you know, this was a perfect one for him. I like to keep all my little babies in something like this. One thing that I've noticed though is that these can be hard to find sometimes. I haven't seen one of these in a while actually, so I'm not sure if they're just out of stock right now or what, but I have a hard time finding these, so when I can get them, I get them. But for the most people, that shouldn't be a problem, and this is just a nice setup overall. So my last setup here today is a critter keeper. Now this has quite a few different advantages than those ones do, but it also has some other disadvantages. So this setup right here, this one costs about $6 total, about $9 or $10 total. This one's going to be about $11 or $12 usually. Now, if you get some good sales, you can get it cheaper. This one would have been $11 for me, technically speaking, but for most people, it would have been about $12 or $13 is my guess. So it's not under the $10, but it's still pretty cheap. So like some of these ones where you have to drill the holes, this one already has holes in it. So that saves you a step if you don't have to drill or whatever. This is definitely the way to go. The only thing I don't really like about this is the cost. These are going to be more expensive than your tubs are. No matter how big of a tub you get, you can still get a critter keeper more expensive than it. Like a big critter keeper is going to be about $20 to $25. So if you're looking for something really big, you know, this is going to get expensive really fast and you might as well just buy an aquarium at that point. But like this medium one that I'm using was about $8 or so. So, you know, it's slightly more expensive than the $6 tub we're using over here, but it does have the added advantage that one, you can lift off this little lid here without having to take off the whole lid. That's nice. It has the holes in it. You don't need to drill holes. That's also nice. It has the handles, you can pick it up easy, although I guess that one has a handle too. But this is just something I would use instead of using a tub like this. Since I can't always find these, I tend to get these instead for my babies if I'm going to do that. But if you want to get these, I'd recommend those first. These second, just because I think that's better if you can drill the holes yourself. But the same setup kind of goes. This is a little baby in here though, a very small baby, and so what I'm doing is I'm using the paper towel rolls and the plant kind of thing. I'm not sure if I have an egg crate in this one right now. No, I don't. But normally I would take a half of an egg crate too and place it under the leaves there so that they can hide kind of. But this gargoyle is so small right now that that's not that big of an issue. But I kind of like the same setup now. A lot of people, you're going to want to crowd. Like you're going to want to have a lot of stuff in here they can hide. But I also like leaving enough space so that they can have a little open areas that come and feed out of. Now the one problem I've had, or kind of had, is the food dish sometimes spills over onto here and it can be hard to clean a little bit. I'm not sure why that is. It's not that bad, it's just a little bit more difficult. But this is also the same footprint as the other two. So they all have one paper towel, one half sheet of paper towel as their base. So that's nice because you only need one sheet. You can see if they're pooping or not. I believe we have some little poops right there. Yes, we do. So it's working for me. You can see that this works to see if they're pooping and eating or not. And it's just a nice little setup overall. So you can really choose to you what looks better. Personally speaking, if I had to choose what looks nicest, it would probably be between these two. I don't really like the way that one looks. But if I had to go for most affordable, that one, easiest to clean and maintain, kind of this one actually, because this one, a lot of these smaller little tubs like this are going to have rounded bottoms down here, and all the little food and stuff that spills over can sit in that crack and it makes it really hard to get out. But in general, I would recommend a tub if you can drill holes. This if you can't. This would be if you have a ton of babies or you just have a boatload that you need to care for and quick. It's cheaper too, so that's nice, but I would definitely recommend these two. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to show you how I set this one up here. It's going to be the same thing for both of these, and I already explained how to set that one up, but I'll show you guys how I set this up quickly for a nice little baby tank. And like I said, that'll work for either of these or any little tub you have. So I went to go and set this up, so I took everything out of it, and I actually got the perfect example to show you guys why this tank has a little bit of a disadvantage with the curved bottom, that is. So as you can see here, the food spilled over into that little crack and I can't reach it. So now what I got to do is I got to soak it, and then eventually I should be able to wipe it out or wash it out. But you know, I clean my tanks every week or every 2 weeks, and you can see that within 2 weeks, so probably, I don't know, maybe 6 feedings or so, he probably spilled his cup over once, twice, probably 3 times, and it got into the little cracks. So that's kind of annoying because every time you clean this tank you have to soak it for a while and wait for all the stuff to get soft so you can wash it out of here, and that's kind of one of the annoying things. But I'm going to let this soak for a bit and I'll get back to you guys in just a minute. Okay, so the first step when setting up your baby Crested Gecko enclosure, picking a substrate. Now what I like to use, paper towel, for obvious reasons. You can see that they're pooping, you can see if they're spilling, you can see if they're eating, and it's just easy to clean and it's cheap. So this is what I like to use for babies, so we'll just drop that in there. Now, paper towel usually curves whichever way it was on the roll. So what I like to do is face that down and then mist it so it stays down like that. Now this tank is a little bit bigger than this piece of paper towel. You could put another one in there if you want, or you can just clean it. It's up to you really, but I'm just going to leave it for now like that. So the next thing to do would be to get some stuff to put in there, some hiding stuff, because babies obviously want somewhere to hide. You're going to need a lot of hiding places, and they like to feel secure, and they're going to feel better and eat better if you do something like that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get a little paper towel roll or a little toilet paper roll, stick that down here. The next thing, actually we're going to take that out quick, but we're going to be using that, so hold that on the side. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be grabbing, let's just say, a egg crate like I have here, but we're going to be grabbing a half of one, so something like this. We're going to be sticking that down right in front here like that. Now this is going to work on any tub or anything like that, but then what I like to do is take like a full egg crate like this, one of the top sides though, so that's not all bumpy and it's flat like this, and hopefully, preferably, it's like a cardboard and not the plastic. Don't use the plastic ones. And take it like this, and hopefully it should fit. If you place it right in front of here, like in the corner though, so it doesn't fall over, and you lean it into the opposite corner so it can't fall, hopefully it should lean up like that. And now that's almost at the top, so that's plenty of climbing room for a little baby. If your tub is too big and you have more space than this, you should probably consider a different tub for your baby. You don't want anything too big. It'll just make it harder for them to find their little food, but it's not super horrible if you have a little bit bigger than this. Next thing you're going to want to do is take any other decorations you have or anything else in there that you want to put down before you put the leaves on or the little plants in. So we have one of these. I like to just put these in there, and let's see if it'll fit. Will it stay like that nicely? No. So I'm just going to roll it on the ground under there like so. That should be good. And they can kind of sleep in there. It's nice and dark during the day, and it's a nice little cozy spot. And that's somewhere I like to put them. Now, the problem with this tank is I have all these holes right on the side where I want to stick my plant to, so I have to stick my plant a little bit lower. But if we just kind of look it up a little bit, it should fit in there nicely. So one thing I'd recommend if you're having trouble to get your plants to stick on, get a little mister like this, give it a little squirt, take your thumb, you roll it around on here until there's no water left. It should just be moist. Let's see if I can get a close-up. Okay, we got a little bit water on there, but not too much. And then we're just going to stick it on the side here. It's a little bit hard to do with one hand, but hopefully it should stick like so. This should still be in there tight. Now this gives the opportunity for them to crawl up here out of the plant if they want, but they're also going to be able to hide under the plant if they want to. And what you can do is, if you want to flip this around and do something like this, that also works really nice because this has a little lip on it, and they can kind of sit in the little crack here. But they also sometimes like to sit up on the top here, I find. I don't know. Maybe that's just my geckos, but they like to do that a lot. So we're just going to get this plant a little bit better. So now once you've put all that stuff in there, you have a completed crested gecko enclosure. I should have maybe put another piece of paper towel in there, to be honest, because that looks kind of bad. I'll do that after the video. But this is a general setup for most babies. I would say this would work for any gecko under 15 grams. Once they get above the 15 grams, though, you're probably going to want to take them out of something like this. This is only probably like, I don't know, maybe 20 quarts or something. So you want to move them up to something a little bit bigger. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Hopefully this setup works out for you. It's pretty cheap, cost effective, and I think it looks very nice. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure you do slap a like on it. It's very much appreciated. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Actually, before I go, I forgot the most important step. I don't know how I could have forgot this, but we forgot the baby gecko. How could we forget to put the gecko back in the gecko tank? Like, what was I thinking? You know, you got to get your little baby geckos in there. So, ooh, feisty little guy. Fired up too. I'll make sure I don't lose him here. But here we have our silly little squirrel, our little baby gecko that's going to be going into this tank. Cute little guy, isn't he? Look at him. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to put him in here. Ooh, ooh. It's okay, it's okay. See, he's a little bit on the feisty side, but, you know, this is perfect tank for him or her. I don't know what it is yet. And see, he's climbing away already. Going to give us a perfect example of where they like to go and hide. He's going to climb up in that little ridge. Thank you guys once again so much, and I will catch you guys in the next video.